Hey guys, it's Allie with Allieanswers. I hope you're having a fantastic day. One of the questions I get probably most often is, what do I say to my loved one when they ask for their mom, their husband, or other loved one who's passed away? There are several different schools of thought in how you should approach this situation, and honestly, some of it would depend on your loved one and how they'll receive the information. While I absolutely believe in being as truthful as you can be, there are ways to be truthful without being harsh. My personal feeling is that learning about someone's death over and over and over again and having to grieve that loss repeatedly is really unfair and honestly unnecessarily painful for your loved one. Wouldn't it be sad to find out every day or several times a day that your mom had died? I cannot begin to imagine. So in an effort to be kind but yet honest, you can answer questions in a way that will still leave you feeling like you're being honest but protecting them as well. One of the most important responsibilities we have is to protect our loved one, right? Absolutely. I experienced this situation in my own family with my grandmother. When I would go and visit her, she would always ask me. She would say, "Do you know where my mom is? Do you know when my mom is coming back?" I think it would have been a very cruel thing to tell her that she was in her 90s and that her mother had died years ago. Instead, I would do one of two things. I would either say, "What do you think?" or "Where do you think she is?" And then she might answer, "I think she's at home." At which point I would agree, because guess what? I'm a believer, and I believe that my grandmother's mom is in heaven and that she is at home and that she is just fine where she is. So number two, I might just offer that answer. "She's fine, she's at home, she'll see you later." All true things, because really what my grandmother was asking for was comfort. What she wanted was reassurance. Reassurance that she was in the right place and reassurance that her people knew where she was. And that's actually language that I used to use all the time with my patients who had dementia. I would tell them, "Your people know where you are. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're very safe here. Your family wants you to stay with us today." Some people call it therapeutic lying. I don't think it's lying. I think I'm just telling a shade of the truth. You have to remember that someone who has dementia is living in a different reality than you or me. And just like I couldn't convince you right now that you're not watching this YouTube video, there's no reason to try to convince your loved one of the current situation. One time when I was visiting my grandmother, she mentioned that her husband was away at work, and I just went with that. She said, "Do you think he'll be back sometime soon?" And I said, "I'm sure that he will be, and I know that he loves you very much." What she wanted was reassurance. Reassurance that he had not forgotten about her and that he still loved her. Sometimes I think that giving the right response is really about trying to see what the person needs. I had a resident one time who had lived her entire life in her home. She spent 90 years in the very same house that she was born in, never lived anywhere else, was never married, was a single lady who lived there her whole life. And yet, as dementia crept into her life, she began to ask, "How do I get home?" In her case, what she was asking had nothing to do with her home. She was already there. What she was saying is, "Something doesn't feel right. I don't feel safe. I need to be reassured." And that's what her family did. In their case, they were able to move her into an assisted living that had an amazing memory care, and she was loved and cared for and reassured all day long. Giving the right care at the right time is what's important. And answering the question in a loving, respectful manner is giving the right care. Some people work very hard to try to reorient their loved one to their reality. To them, I would ask the question, why? Why does it matter? Why does it matter if they know if their parents are alive or not? Why does it matter if they know that they're in a community or not? Why does it matter if they know that they're in their home or not? All that really matters is that they feel safe and protected and loved and cared for and cherished. A person who has advanced dementia cannot process the same things that you and I can. And I've often compared advanced dementia to being in a time warp. It must feel like you're in an elevator or a time machine and the door keeps opening and shutting and you're in different times in different places, and it's very confusing. So what I try to do is always offer support and comfort. I did have a lady who loved to pack up because she was always planning on going home, and I would get her boxes from the kitchen and she would pack all of her belongings all day long. And then after she packed, she was exhausted and she would go to sleep. And then she would wake up the next morning and she would see all her belongings in boxes and she would unpack everything. And you know what? That's okay, because it gave her an activity to do. It gave her purpose. It kept her physically busy. It kept her mentally busy. So maybe what we need to do sometimes is realize that our reality does not matter near as much as we thought. If you're struggling, I always say, just come down on the side of love. Come down on the side of what makes most sense. And if you're still struggling with that because you think, this is my mom, this is my dad, I was taught never to lie, or this is my husband, I love him so much, I feel like I'm lying to him. Let me make this comparison. When you're a child, your parents choose how much to tell you about something. While people that we love who have dementia are grown adults with full lives and families, and they've had a history, and most often they've had careers, and they've been exceptional people. Because of the brain damage that is causing the dementia, they are less able to process all of the information that they receive. So it is a much more humane thing to break the information down into small pieces and only give them what they need. For example, my little boy one day pitched a fit because he did not want to go to school. He was probably 4 or 5 years old, and he laid down on the ground out in the driveway, rolling around and screaming, "I'm never going to school again." Now, I could have said to him, not only are you going to school today, you are going to go to school every day for probably at least the next 16 years. That would have been unnecessarily cruel and something that he really couldn't comprehend and something that he couldn't handle in the state that he was in. So what I did was something that was much kinder. We focused on the very next step, the very next thing that he needed to know, not 16 years of something that seemed very overwhelming. If you still feel like telling a partial truth is difficult, just trust me when I tell you that it is the most compassionate and loving thing that you can do for your loved one. Just like what I did for my son was compassionate, it is compassionate for you to tell the truth that they need to hear. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate your support. If you will please like and subscribe, more people will see this video and we can do more good. Wishing you all the very best. Bye-bye.